All right. I know that Tom only has 5 minutes. Tom, any input?
I've got a few more.
Okay.
I've got a few more.
Anything you have, Tom, on this model here on the engineered clarity as it relates to seeing things, so the four different types of personality. So the analytic sees the details. The amiable sees the caring, the connection of people. The expressive sees the fun and the energy. And the driver sees the power and the big picture. Each of those see the world in a very different way. And the leverage and the power and the influence and the connection and the deep relationships and the success and the money and the time and all of those things, if we can learn to see things through the eyes of different personalities, then we're going to have more of everything and better of everything. Any input that you have on this, Tom?
Well, I think what you've just described is what I've always said about the personality masteries. If you take that course and understand and utilize that course, it opens up more doors than you can believe, because now you understand why people do certain things and why they don't do certain things, and you also understand how to maybe get them to do certain things. It's almost like a manipulation course, so to speak.
Peter, you're going through the Personality Masteries course now. I know you're just kind of getting into it. But any thoughts you have on this model here?
Well, look, I think you said it already earlier, and you've got to start with the end in mind, right? And to me, the end in mind is when you walk into a meeting, walk into a sales situation, walk into a boardroom, whatever it is, you've got to start with the end in mind. And to the extent that personalities don't matter at that moment, if the outcome is the same, it matters in terms of, I'll call it the love language in which you speak to people. But there's always a lot of noise when you're dealing with people, whether it's a short-term objective, a medium-term objective, a purpose in life. And you have to have the outcome in mind in any situation, whether you've got 30 minutes or an hour, to get that focus to allow you to filter the noise of other participants, to get them to see the same objective. And then it's about finding that common language to ask questions so that people can see and contribute. So there's kind of a lot of detail behind, asking the right questions, but you've always got to have the outcome in mind, whether it's short, medium, or long term, because that filters out the noise. And knowing the personalities helps you tune the individuals into the goal of that short, medium, or long-term objective.
Cool. So this is one of the most powerful, but people, the 10 reasons why people talk. If you build that into your culture, and again, it takes a strong culture, it takes strong people to say, why are you sharing this with me? People don't like to think about why they're talking; they just like to talk. People, when they're clueless, they don't like that pointed out. When they're ego, there's any of these can be good or bad or whatever. And so if you make this a part of your culture, it's going to be very, very powerful in what we're doing. Go into the members only and then make a comment, the one word that today's lesson meant to you. So what's one word? So Tom, what would you say one word that describes what you think? When you think of this lesson, what's one word to you?
Understanding.
Peter, what would be one word to you?
He took the word right out of my mouth.
All right. Is there another word?
Revealing.
Cool. My one word is exciting. the work that goes into these 7 lessons is massive. If you register for the backstage passes, which I would recommend you do, you get a flavor for how much work goes into these things. And so we shot, lesson 3, and it was a really good lesson. I mean, it was so much, but all of the people, we talked in the backstage pass area and said, and they're like, yeah, it didn't have the energy. It didn't have what 1 and 2 had. So what do? We reshoot it again. And so what's your one word? Put it all in caps in the members only, and then go ahead and explain what that one word means to you. Like Tom, understanding, what does that mean? What does understanding mean to you?
What it really means is the model gives me a way to try and understand people that I may not have understood before.
And Peter, understanding and revealing, what does that mean to you?
Well, to me, it allows me to modify habits based on a formula, basically.
And for me, exciting because it's like I get 2 really cool people that I get to participate, and then all the others of you that are participating live and those that are going through, the online and listening to these. Like our passion, our heart is like we hope you feel like you're in the room with us, like we're just 3 little boys playing together, and all of a sudden we discover this, and then somebody else discovers this. This is, what one of those little boys has been working on right here. This does not look as pretty, but, probably in a lesson or 2, this will come out. And so when I said to Tom a few weeks back, Tom, I'm so frustrated because people say I know, and they don't know, and I don't know how to respond. So why do people say, they don't know, or they know, and I don't know. And Tom's just like, just casually, he's like, they're not internalizing what you're saying, and that's been driving me. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Put your 10 reasons why people talk up again, because I looked at this morning, and I think it's so important to, talking is asking questions, right? Or it can be, or it might be answering questions. So when I looked at that this morning and I thought, what things would I circle as my motive when I'm speaking most of the time, right? In any context, whether it's answering or asking questions. And it's up to still some of what I think you're trying to communicate and educate on. Because for me, intention just jumped off the page at me. Insecure was another one, not because I necessarily feel insecure, but insecure in the sense that I don't know, and I want to know. Seduce, was another one. So circling some of these words just made me distill my motive for opening my mouth, and it was quite profound when I did that, because the things that helped me distill was intention, connect, seduce, insecure, thinking, and also remind me that I don't want to. My intention is not to be destructive. Clueless, I may not know, but clueless, I hope not.
So do you understand the value of destruction?
Yeah, I may not the same way as you do, but I don't see any of these things as lacking in value.
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed. And so none of these are inherently good or bad. They just are what they are. Any one of these 10 could be used for good or bad. And so every one of these have this piece. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure out this model. So right now, this one here is 1, but it's too complicated. So this one was my first one. Then I came down into here and I said engineered clarity, and its intention, like internalization. And it's like 1 is ask an awakening question. So, with a wife of 33 years. Now I have 4 daughters that are all women, young women now, that, some are moms, and now I have, 4 grandkids and 3 granddaughters. And so, what does every woman want from a man? She wants to be awakened. What does every man want from a woman? He wants to be awakened. What does every client want? What does every employee want? What does every owner of a company, what does every C-level person? My wife is working on a project, Business Sense, from Everyday Moms. And it's an unbelievable project. And it's like C-level executives are often white males over 50 that are having all of these problems. And who do they go talk to? They go talk to other C-level executives that are often white males over 50. And all these white males over 50 are talking about all of these problems. But maybe if they went to their mom, maybe she could say, well, duh, stupid. This is what it is. Like when you were just a little boy, this is what I did to change your behavior. Like, why aren't the C-level executives, why aren't they talking to moms? Why aren't they talking to everyday moms? The everyday mom, they're the ones that probably have the solution. And so when we ask a question and it's an awakening question, it becomes internalizing. Like it internalizes it. And then we become curious and we look at why. And then we start to gain insights. And then we have a purifying of our mind to say, we do have ego, we are arrogant, we are selfish, we are self-centered, and then we have, I think it's radical here. So it's a radical thinking change, and that leads into capabilities, which leverage, which then moves into change. And then, which is weird because this model was written before Tom said what he said today. And what did he say today? It's failure. So it's fail. So when you do something, it's going to fail. In martial arts, what do? They teach you to fall. Why? Because you're going to fall. Tom, do you need to run?
I've got a couple.
So here's some additional stuff. So if individuals go into one-on-one coaching and mentoring from somebody who's certified in leverage, or if somebody goes to a seminar or workshop with somebody who's certified in leverage, or part of a mastermind group from somebody certified in leverage, these are some of the additional topics that you can get into. So here are some concepts that'll just blow your mind. You won't find, Google doesn't know these things. You won't find them taught anywhere in an MBA course. You won't find them taught in executives. You won't find them taught anywhere other than leverage. You just won't. So here they go. So the personality, the frequency test. Well, then you say, how do we see the world? Like the values and belief, and really like going through and understanding how people see the world in a different way. And there's strengths in seeing the world the way they are, and then there's weaknesses. I didn't learn until my 18-year-old son was 15 to go ahead and respond to him in a different way. It's unfortunate he's the youngest of 7, because I'm like, I wish somebody would have taught me this as a young dad. Rather than saying, son, the way you're thinking is not going to serve you well, I should have said, well, that's one way of thinking. What would be another way of thinking? But I didn't. Now, it took him about a year or two, and then when he didn't agree with something I said, he says, well, Dad, that's one way of thinking, which was fine. It is. And then seekers of the truth. So are you a gap jumper or are you a bridge builder? Both have values. You got to have people in your organization that are gap jumpers. They don't need a bridge. But then if you're going to get the masses to follow, if you're going to get the whole group, you need bridge builders. So there's 2 types of frequencies that are gap jumpers, and there's 2 types of frequencies that are bridge builders. Do we understand the difference between the two? That gives us leverage. Now, gap jumpers tend to be seers. They see things that other people don't. The bridge builders tend to be more into the being rather than seeing. Well, what would we need both. We need being and seeing. And again, in this course, we'd love to be able to share all of this, but you can't do it. Here's, something on how our brains are wired in a very different way. Like, this is just one of the coolest models, where it goes into the past, the present, and the future, and how different personalities their brains, how they're wired in a very different way based on frequency, and how we can learn to value other people and learn how to think like other people. Like that's what you get. And then bringing things into alignment. So there's two types of frequencies which will tend to make a lot of mistakes and learn. Two types of frequencies that they'll often struggle. They make mistakes. There's just no evidence that they've made it. And so that's really profound. And then when you look at like this particular model and say, whoa, like what does this mean? Again, you can't get it. You got to engage. And then there tends to be people who are thinkers and doers. What's better? Well, people who tend to be doers need to think more. People who tend to think more need to do more. And so to optimize our profitability within our company or our organization, it's the perfect blend between thinking and doing. And who knows that blend? Well, the doers say, they know. And the thinkers, they think they know. The truth is it's a blend of all of these things to do, and that brings leverage and being able to go through it. The DNA for people, the DNA for business, the 530 grid. And then you start getting into dimensional thinking. Einstein said you can never solve a problem on the level it was created. What does that mean? It means that we create our own problems. Every one of us create our own problems. And so how are we supposed to do that? There's an entire science behind all of this that you can learn in going through it. And then learning actually how to think differently based on natural laws that literally rewire the synapses in our brains. And then it gets into defensiveness, why people are defensive and how to help people be open, and then learning how to do and see the truth. And then there's, really cool model there and more models here. And then you look at efforts, results, and all kinds of, and again, you can't find this in any university. Like no university is teaching this. Peter, I know, you've got to go. Anything you have, Peter, before you run?
Yes, I just wanted to kind of recap. You said something that really resonated with me about people wanting to be awakened, right? And I would use the term people want to be engaged. I mean, it's similar but different, and it can be both.
Yep.
But what I learned not so long ago, really after having lots and lots of meetings in corporate, was not to ask people at the end of it, at a meeting, at a seminar, a presentation, how it went, but what they heard. Because what they heard is going to be what they will act on. And that's where I think all the, when you're trying to deal with a big group of people of different personalities, based on the filter that they put things through, which is why it's important to understand personalities, but you can't always accommodate all of them at once. But asking people what they heard and what they need to do, having heard that, was the most revealing thing I think I asked people, and it ties back into that engaged awakening. Because I realized at that point, if you just said, how do you think it went, the meeting or whatever, people would always kind of tell you what you want to hear. It went well, I don't think they're going to do what we expect them to do, or whatever it is. But when you ask people what they heard, you find that there's often 2 or 3 different perspectives on the outcome of that, and you have to realign that and adjust to that. And often it's driven by, as I said, personalities, and that's why I think this all also ties in very well.
Wow. Tom, any closing thoughts, comments you have?
Well, that the one you have up there now kind of reminds me of the one I did with my family.
And now it's all in a mobile app. And
including my former wife, which was interesting.
And what was interesting about that, Tom?
It explained why I loved her and love her, and it explained why we needed to not be together.
Huh. Interesting. So the life lifemasteries-gps.org. The mobile app is through Life Masteries Institute, a nonprofit organization, and it does all of this automatically. It maps it out, and you can click on your name, your personality, somebody else's personality, and then it'll give you the geotest and your geotest, their pain, your pain, combined, your combined, and you'll be able to map it out so you can understand how do you better communicate to that person. How do you see the world through their eyes? And then how do we go ahead and determine, okay, we see all of this, what do we do? And so, again, just a really potent, a really powerful tool that I believe every organization, ought to have. Profit, nonprofit, community-based, personal, professional, all of those types of things. And so make sure that you're engaged in, your atomic ripple reaction tree, your art mentor, art buddy, all of those type of things, really important, because this is where you're going to, really learn. I mean, this is where it's going to happen, is in the trenches where you're connecting, one with another. Peter, Tom, any other thoughts, questions either of you have?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm good also.
All right, appreciate you guys so much. You guys have a wonderful day. If you're listening to the rebroadcast of this, again, talk to your art mentor, talk to your art buddy. If you have any questions on anything connected into it, connect with the individual who invited you to participate, connect with your art mentor, or you can call toll-free 888-230-2300. That's 888-230-2300. Or if you're calling in outside the U.S., you can call the U.S.-based number at 630-393-9909. That's 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day.